I'm Al Andrews. I want to try to share a little bit through my eyes as a person who is in need. So first of all, when you are not a candidate, but when you're a person who's seeking an organ to be donated, it's a request you can't make and a gift you can't expect, and one you're never worthy of, just right off the bat. And so it's surprising that anybody would want to donate a part of themselves to you. Like, this isn't writing a check, this isn't doing a favor for a person, this isn't something that you calendar and just kind of work it into your schedule. This is a life gift. So it's a rare conversation, it's a rare request, and it's a rare grant. And so the whole way that it happened with Carrie was not like I could have ever expected. There were other people who expressed willingness to be tested, and that's what you need, but that's a willingness to at least see if there would ever be the potential. The next level would be somebody who's willing to go through the application process and the screening to see if they might be a candidate. That's another level. And then the level that you can't expect is that somebody is a candidate and then they start going through the various stages. And it's set up, like Carrie said, that you aren't going to know what's happening because of HIPAA and medical privacy, and just the fact that options need to remain open for donors and however they're feeling. So you get no feedback from, at least the recipient gets no feedback from medical staff. You do know that your person is, or your persons are being tested, but you don't know anything because you can't bank on it, you can't get your hopes up. And they tell you, they're preparing you psychologically. So you go through it like that, but to have feedback from her was so surreal, because not only was I getting updates, which were so vital and important, because when you're so in need, to have those little things that buoys your spirit, but to have somebody who was so excited about it and so into it, it reduced, even though she and I talked about the gift in general terms, and as we were trying to get to know one another, we were having lunches or just getting to know one another, and so we had talked about it, but still to have somebody who was excited about it was refreshing and humbling and all kinds of things I can't think of. So that was quite an experience. But I must tell you, now fast forward to December, we've got our appointment for the surgery, and I get there early, of course, just wanting to do whatever I needed to for intake processing. And so I'm there, they go ahead and take me back, I do all the intake processing, then I'm waiting in chairs for Carrie to come. But that wait was probably less than 10 minutes, but it seemed like 10 years, because you're waiting. This is the ultimate time or moment, and despite the fact that plans have been made, you know in the back of your mind, because you're told and just because you're human, that it might not happen, and it could be called off or not happen at any point. And so you're sitting there, and it's almost like you can hear the seconds on the clock ticking, or see the hand moving. And so I'm going through a million things, a million thoughts in my head, but one of them that's at the forefront, despite my efforts to suppress it, at the forefront is, this might not happen. Don't prepare yourself in the event that she just doesn't come around that corner. You've got to do that, because you've got to stay strong and regroup and just understand that's life, and life is not a guarantee. And so I'm sitting there waiting as the seconds pass, doing some internal praying, just trying to get prepared, and your mind's racing. And then she comes around the corner, I'll never forget it, and I had seen her in work attire only so far, because that's just been the nature of our meeting, and we didn't know each other super well. And so she comes in, she's got on blue jeans and, like, I don't know if she has a scarf or something, and this green t-shirt that I can't quite make out, and all I see is that she's bubbly, she's excited, and she's coming. And so this for me was a vision of an angel in life coming before me. And so I'm flushed with emotion at this point, because she's there, and it's the relief of she's there. And then she's not like, wow, you know, suffering the emotion of, okay, now I'm here for this scary surgery, not sure what's going to happen. This person who needs me so bad, and I feel committed, but do I really feel willing? But it was clear that in her mind, she was excited. She was happy, and it was effusive. And she had this shirt. I'm like, what in the world? She had shirts made, and my mind is racing because I'm like, she's excited. She's like, shirts made. I could never expected this. And we hugged, and then we just you know, greeted one another. And Skip, her husband, was there, and it was so much a relief, a prayer answered, a lot of things just quickly. After the surgery, my creatinine was at a 10, which is essentially organ failure. And the next day, my creatinine score, which is that measure of filtration, went down to a 5. So it's you know, it's dropped in half, and it continued to drop each day we were in the hospital, which means that that organ was in me, it was viable, it was performing its function, could use the restroom. All that stuff is happening, and which is no small thing, medically or otherwise, to begin with. And it's still tough for me. Carrie's half my size, and we have other surface differences, even though we're about the same. And just all this, it's like a series of amazing things that are happening. And my score kept going down, or my measurements kept going down, which is a positive. And so I'm getting healthier right before kind of everyone's eyes. And it's just been an amazing journey. My creatinine score continues to creep downward, and I'm into the normal range. I'm high normal, but here 5 years later, all this time has passed, but I'm doing great. I can look at her and she's doing great. And it's a continuing, it's not just like a miracle happened in your life, and it did, but it's a continuing miracle because I'm still able to function and have positive outlook. And I really don't even think about having kidney disease and having just one functioning kidney. I just feel completely normal. And the real blessing of it all was not just the amazing gift, but it's the fact that we have a lifelong bond, which is unbreakable. And I'm a person without siblings. I just have one living parent, and I have a child. And so those are my 2 blood relatives. And to have her, in a way, be now a blood relative is just so special to me. And I'll say this as well. I'm older, and I grew up in a different time under different circumstances, though we're both in the same field of practice. But I have things and experiences in my life and my experience that I carry barriers in my mind. And so the fact that she, as a white female, was able to donate me a black male manifested some other things in me that I also share with certain audiences, and that's that the differences between the races are so small. I mean, literally, the measurement is your dermis, is your skin, the very top layer, not most of your skin, the least percentage of your skin. And in that small amount of difference, microns, we have created a whole erection of a gulf of differences that are so completely unnecessary and without substance. And beneath the skin, we literally are the same. I'm a living manifestation that something from within her body is operating within my body and allowing me to live. And it's virtually no different. Her blood runs in my blood. And so I just think it's an amazing testament of how a lot of what we spend our time, effort, and energy in getting wrapped up in is of no substance, just none. It's completely a fictional creation that we thrive in. But in essence, we were all made the same by a great chief architect, and we are the same. So I was in hospital a day longer than Carrie, just to make sure that everything, they want to do testing and making sure you have full functionality. And of course, you're closely observed when you get out. But you do have a scar for the insertion. Mine's went in through an abdominal cavity. And they have to make sure that the physical placement of the kidney is secure and that all the fluids and whatnot are doing well, and you're monitored after. But the recovery is very minor as far as relatively compared to all else that you go through. This part of it is, I mean, it's cake. It's nothing compared to the other part. And it's great. I don't have or I did not have a great sensation of a foreign object or body being within me. You really don't have any of those sensations. And while you as the recipient, you don't necessarily, I mean, you're obviously using the restroom and other things, but the biggest thing is you don't have to do dialysis, which when you're a dialysis patient, that's a major part of your day and a major part of your world and life. And while some recipients continue to do dialysis just to be sure that toxins are being removed and to assist the new organ, her organ was so viable and so productive, I did not need to do dialysis again and have never had to do it again since. Dialysis is a significant event in so many ways. It's something that allows you to live, but it is definitely something that is so tangible and present. And I had some difficulties in dialysis that I'll never forget. And to be relieved of that alone would have been a blessing and would have been a great weight removed. To be relieved of that and have a viable kidney, a viable organ, is more than I could have asked for. And so in so many ways it was such a blessing to have this have happened. And it didn't just do follow-up, was minor. I had, you know, post-surgical energy deficits that I had to get my stamina back up, but I was able to go back to work with no hitches. I mean, everyone was amazed that this had happened, and when they saw us and they heard the story, I think they were so amazed. And for me, it was good because it demystified the donation process, carries a living example to people who are considering that, you know, it's a surgery that is not going to put you down. It's not going to change the course of your life to the negative. If anything, it's going to change the course of your life to the positive. There is no one who knows of this, who hears our story, any story, who will think anything other than being pleased and in awe at what you have done. And to have something like that is not the reason why you do it, but it certainly buoys your spirit. And even for me, I'm merely a person who received a blessing. I did nothing to deserve it and did nothing to receive it, but I carry it as an example of a blessed individual. And to me, that's significant because it not only shows what can happen, it gives hope to those who are looking. I share my story that in order to receive this blessing, you've got to share your story. Sort of suffering in silence is noble, but it is not wise. You've got to let your story be known. And if you do receive a blessing like I did, then it's incumbent upon you to share this story, to in subtle ways but to encourage others to consider it. We want to be examples of the other side and how every human who has not yet been a donor has the ability to give a life and to live and see the blessing that you have provided. And that's what's so unique about kidney donation. I mean, it's not like you did this thing and you never get to see it again. You get to see it sort of each day. So.